Hello and welcome back to the NHL Best Bets. Last night there were eight good games. Let's check the peaks first. These were not so great this time. Rangers started very well against Pittsburgh, but then Pittsburgh started to play on their level, and Rangers was complete loser at the end by 5-1 score. Then Nashville-Dallas, that was a tight game. Nashville started very well, and Dallas then woke up later to play. And at the end, it was Pekka Rinne in Nashville's goal who came with a few big game-saving saves. And at the end, Nashville won in shootout 4-3. Tommy, how do you look these bets?
Yeah, red always bad. Of course, the pick from Pittsburgh was a risky one to start with a plus odds there for the Rangers. We thought that they might have gotten their game together and they looked good in the previous issues, but this time the difference was clear that Penguins is a lot better team and they did play to their level this time. Quite routinely took the win then after early struggles. Rangers was good in the beginning, but then game was practically over after the first period when Penguins led 3-1. Rangers changed their goalie. It was all over. Their game was all over the place after that. So not much of a story there to tell from the Rangers. I think we should stay away from that team. They seem to do worse every time. We are putting our trust in that team and still expecting a lot more from them. But Penguins, like everyone knows, they are a capable team. Sometimes a little bit up and down. So they have now proven that they are able to beat these teams that they are supposed to beat. So a good win for them, but a bad pick from us. So no excuses there. The other game, though, was then I think a better pick. Big pick from us. Dallas was maybe a better team, but in ice hockey, not always the better team wins, especially when you have a Finnish goalkeeper in the other end. So Pekka Rinne did save the points for Nashville, who have lost a couple previous games. They were underperforming somewhat, pretty disappointing in many ways, but now got the really important points, if only after the shootout, but still a good game from them. Their power play worked pretty well. Also a couple of Finnish guys scoring there, so I think that's a good thing for us, but a bad thing again for our pick. But a better selection than the Rangers was, but still, this time no cigar. Let's do better next time.
Yeah, Rinne was pretty good playing back-to-back games there. I think Dallas outshot Nashville something like 40-20, or what were final numbers, and they definitely needed a lot of his help because of some of the great game savers, even though Dallas scored 3 goals in the third period, but overtime they had a chances to seal it but couldn't pass puck of Rinne.
Yeah, that's something that Nashville does need now, is the great goaltending from Rinne or from Saros when he returns, because the team hasn't been able to score a lot of goals. So it's always been that way, that Predators are relying on their defense and the goaltending, and it seems to be the case again.
Yesterday we discussed a few other games. New York Islanders played as expected at home. They beat Buffalo 5-2. And then we had some value in Chicago playing against Tampa, but we felt that Tampa may bounce back, and they did. But surprisingly, it was only second period when they started to play, so they were still sleeping during the first period when Chicago was leading 3-0, but then they just put the gear on and started to play by winning game 6-3. And then I think third game that we can highlight here is the Washington, Philadelphia, where we had also good value for a road team. Washington won it 3-1.
Yeah, that was a good pick. Philadelphia a little bit disappointing against Penguins in the previous game. Continued a similar way. It was a close game, but Washington similar to Penguins in many ways, and managed to get the win with a quite interesting setting of odds that Washington was such a heavy underdog, plus 115 odds there in Philadelphia. And also have to point out our favorites in these lower league teams, Ottawa Senators, with excellent odds, plus 166 against Calgary. So they won after overtime or a shootout, but won anyway. So like we've been repeating, always look for these heavy underdogs in games that are very close, like Calgary and Ottawa at the moment are quite similar place and quite similar teams as well, maybe underperforming a bit. So good pick, Ottawa there.
Especially if you are playing in Calgary Saddle Dome, that is a very good place for visitors and horrible home arena for Calgary.
That's a good thing to remember. Calgary plays better on the road than they do at home. Probably the only team in the world that does that, but seems to be the case.
At least the only team in NHL.
Yeah.
Tonight there are 6 games. Let's go through those picks that we did for tonight. Vegas goes to Minnesota. They beat San Jose quite convincingly, but now Minnesota, that has been playing better, but they lost against Arizona their last game. And then week ago they played 2 games in Vegas. First one was very tight, 5-4, but then they lost 5-1. The second one, that was not so even as we predicted. But now home team plus odds, we feel that there is a great value in this game, even though Vegas is a better team, but they need to stop winning at some stage. Now I think they have won 6 games in a row, so there is this kind of statistical loss coming at some stage. Then Montreal goes to Vancouver. They beat Winnipeg very nicely 2 nights ago, but now a bit similar story as Minnesota. Vancouver has plus 140 odds. They are reasonable team, and Montreal is nothing compared to Vegas. So here home team has a very good value based on our simulations, and that's the key for the pick here.
Yeah, both picks, great value. That's the first thing to say. Of course, underdogs in this case, but still with these values, there is a good chance that we are getting these in the green. Minnesota already played well against Vegas in Vegas. Now they get to play at home. Probably a big advantage for the type of team that Minnesota is. They are able to match some lines. They're able to choose who is gonna play who. So it's a good home team. Of course, goes without saying, we do want Kaapo Kähkönen to start and not. But better goaltender should play against this team, Vegas. That is a better team than Minnesota, but this time I think Minnesota has a great chance for a bounce back after that devastating loss. It was 5-1 in their second issue in Vegas. The score didn't exactly reflect the game. Minnesota was better than that, but Marc-Andre Fleury was then the man who took the points for Vegas and frustrated Minnesota. Probably gonna be in the net again tonight. I'm not gonna say anything about Fleury because he's been absolutely fantastic this season. So it doesn't seem that he's aging at all, only getting better. But still, I think a close game, something that with these odds, of course, Minnesota is a better pick. And then our favorite team to play against, Montreal, is visiting Vancouver. Vancouver is now without Elias Pettersson, their first line centerman. They actually played better without him. They beat Toronto twice. Toronto a lot better team than Montreal. Probably Montreal might be a little bit better match for Vancouver, the way they play, but we don't think that Montreal is as good as the odds are indicating, and we haven't been whole season. So even if Montreal did beat Winnipeg last time quite heavily 7-1 at home, it was more of an off game from Winnipeg Jets than it was the betterness of Montreal Canadiens. So I think again Vancouver here, a lot better value, massive odds. It's about a 50-50 game, so I'd go with the home team anytime.
Yeah, Canadiens have played now against Vancouver 5 times this season. All those games were at the beginning of the season when Montreal was overperforming expectations, and they won 4 out of 5. So now, since they played last time against each other, that was a while back, and now Montreal arrow has started to point a little bit downwards, and Vancouver has maybe improved a bit. They are not so great team in any means, but still, I agree that this is good home value here. Do we have any other games that you feel that have some worth to bet of these 4 games that are played tonight?
There is some, but pretty slim pickings, so to say. Of course, we do have again these big favorites, St. Louis playing on the road against San Jose. We have them winning for 63%. The odds are around 59.9, so small value for a road favorite there. And then Colorado playing against Arizona at home. We have them winning 72%, while the odds are at 63. So again, these heavy favorites that we do have as favorites as well. So there is some value, but the odds not so attractive for us. But it looks like these teams should be able to take the points tonight.
Yeah, it's always a bit tricky to bet these heavy favorites, like we saw, for example, during the weekend when Anaheim was playing in Colorado. They won 1, lost 1, and both games were very tight. And if you would bet Colorado in both of these, you have been losing quite a bit money. Then, if we take a look of the total bets, I see that simulations predict that the Ottawa-Edmonton game is not going to go over 6.5 goals. How's that possible? Because Edmonton is very famous of scoring, and their goaltending is not top notch by any means.
I think Edmonton has had some issues now with scoring. They might have taken a little bit of a practice lesson there to play through the defense a bit more. They failed miserably against Toronto, so they realized that maybe they're not able to win the games by only attacking and only relying on these 2 guys, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, to score goals. So they have maybe taken a little bit more balanced approach to the games and not scoring so much, trying to keep their defense intact. And also Ottawa, as we've been predicting, they've been doing quite a lot better than indicated. So if the game is going to be tight, it's probably going to be tied like 3-3 than 6-6. So I think that's the reason why the simulations are indicating altogether 5.8 goals on average, and which means about 61% under the goal line of 6.5. And also both goaltenders, Matt Murray and Mike Smith for Edmonton, have actually played quite all right, especially Smith for Edmonton. When he doesn't have to play too much, he is capable of keeping his net relatively clean.
Let's see what happens if he can keep the net clean this time, or it would be similar kind of shooting extravaganza like it was earlier this season. I think Edmonton won then 8-5 or something like this. So that is an interesting game to watch for sure.
Yeah, let's see if Ottawa can do better now. Of course, scoring 5 goals against Edmonton was a good feat last time, but if you allow 8, it's not really useful. So I do believe that it's going to be a lot tighter game and lot less scoring as well, because Ottawa has now found a way to get wins without actually breaking the bank in the offense either. So defensive battle, of course, Edmonton still has these guys who can score 6 goals together if they are in that mood. So be careful with it. But it looks like it could be an under this time.
Very good. Let's see how this and other games go tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.